it to you on Instagram.
So first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna add unsalted butter into a deep pan. Make sure it's nice and tall. Then we're gonna add sugar and 2 tablespoons of honey. Use honey that you actually really like. The stronger the flavor of the honey, the sort of stronger the flavor of the cake will be. So make sure it's a good quality honey, not like a cheap sugar honey, if you know what I mean. Always look at the ingredients. Then what you're gonna do, you're gonna take a whisk and mix everything together. You can just do this slowly and turn on medium heat to make sure everything melts. Keep whisking until all your butter is completely melted, and this will take several minutes or so. Once you have mixed everything together, you want to leave this for a few seconds until the mixture starts to bubble up. Once you see that it's bubbling up, then it's time to add our baking soda. Once you add baking soda, the mixture will start to puff up, change the color, and kind of increase in volume. So this is why it's important to have a deep pan. As you can see, you want to keep whisking it up. And this again depends on the color of your honey cake. The longer you cook this, the deeper the color will be. So I suggest whisking this on a low sort of heat for about 3 minutes or so, and just keep whisking and mixing it up while incorporating your baking soda with the honey and butter and sugar. So you will see now the change in color will happen quite quickly because the sugar is caramelizing and so is the honey, and I absolutely love the smell. It smells so good already. So if you can see already, I've just left it for a few seconds and it starts to bubble up. So you want to keep mixing, otherwise the mixture will burn. So don't leave it for too long. And once it's done and you're happy with the color, then just keep whisking and take it off the heat. At this stage, I like to cool it down at a room temperature. So you can do this by whisking the mixture constantly. You can leave it for about 5 to 10 minutes, or you can place this in a fridge and whisk it up, or you can just leave it and do nothing. I like to transfer it into a new bowl so we can whisk it all up, and my mixture has hardened quite a bit. You don't have to make it this hard, but if it does, it's absolutely fine as well. So then add 1 egg at a time, and it's best to use an electrical whisk to whisk everything together. Otherwise your hand might get tired from whisking. It's quite hard, especially because my mixture has set a bit too much, but this is okay as well. So keep whisking with an electrical whisk, and then you want to add your second egg inside. And then once you mix the second egg inside, you will see the mixture will loosen up and become a bit easier to whisk, and all the bits will split, and then it will be nice and well. If your mixture has hardened too much, you can warm it up just a little bit in a microwave or over the stove, just to make sure it's not hard as candy. So once everything mixed in, we are going to sift our flour right inside. So you want to do this in stages. I did it in 3 goes. So you want to put a little bit inside, sieve it through straight away into the bowl, and then take your electrical whisker and mix everything one more time. So why I like this recipe as well, it's just super quick. You just whisk everything with an electric whisk in one bowl, no mess. So then you're going to add more flour. You don't need to whisk this too much, just enough until your flour is incorporated. Once you're finished with all the flour, you just want to make sure there's no flour left on the sides, and just keep whisking. Once you're done, the mixture will be nice and sticky, so you can just use your spoon, mix the leftovers, and then you want to divide your mixture in half. We're going to bake our cake in 2 rounds. So just take half of your mixture, and here I have lined my silicone paper. You can also use just plain parchment paper. Spray a little bit of oil and then add half of your mixture. So you don't need to roll anything out. You can use a spatula to move the dough around. However, I found a quicker way just using my hand. Make sure it's wet. So wet your hands and just spread out the mixture. After a while, it will become sticky, so then go wet your hands again and just repeat the process. You can almost sort of drag it across, up and down. And actually, this is really fun. My first one took longer than my second one, so trust me, you will get used to this. Just it doesn't have to be perfect, as long as you get the perfect square where you're gonna cut your heart out or whatever other shape that you might be using. But this is quite a big, standard silicone mat, so I've tried to shape it up as much as I could. And then you don't need to pierce it or anything. I've just measured, make sure I can cut out 2 hearts. And this goes in the oven for about 12 to 15 minutes at 200 Celsius or 400 Fahrenheit. Once it's done, you're gonna smell that baby. Look at that beautiful golden honey color. And guys, the house smells incredible. So while the dough is hot, you wanna cut out your hearts straight away, or whatever shape you might be using. If you're doing the squares, make sure you get rid of all the sides so it's nice and even, and then cut 3 squares. So once they're cut, just take your hearts out and place them onto a plate. I just want to show you, look how airy the sponge cake is. I've also decided to cut mini hearts from the leftover sponge cake, and they become like delicious cookies, honey dough cookies. So good, guys, as well. All the leftovers, you want to scrape them into a bowl. You can of course eat them, but I suggest you hold off because you might want to decorate the cake. And you want to repeat the process with your second layer. Like I said, it took me a lot quicker to roll out the dough. So I'm just gonna cut the hearts out one more time. And guys, honestly, this is such an easy recipe. I've made a lot of honey cakes in my life, and this makes your life much easier. It's super quick. It's just gonna show you how airy the sponge cake is. It's so flavorful. You've got a lot of air bubbles in there. It's super soft and moist. And when we add the cream, it's just gonna melt in your mouth. I can't wait for Eva to try this. Just look at that. And it's super bendy while it's hot, and it's very, very delicious. Now we're gonna make the cream. You can actually make the cream while your layers are baking. So add your sour cream into a bowl, and then add vanilla extract and cream. So you can use double or heavy cream, it's up to you. In fact, you can use any sort of cream that you want for this recipe. This is more of a classical side, and I really love sour cream sort of with whipped cream together. It's really good. So whisk this until you kind of get soft peaks. The mixture needs to hold quite well. So this takes a few minutes or so. It's actually a really quick process. So it's nice and perky, look at that, and it stays on my spatula. Once the cream is done, the layers have cooled down, we're gonna assemble the cake. So just put a little dollop of your cream at the bottom to make sure your heart stays on the cake board and it doesn't move. Press it down, and then add loads and loads of cream. In fact, this recipe makes a bit more cream than it needs for this heart, but I wanted to give you more cream in case you were making a square shaped cake and then you have 6 layers instead of 4. So don't worry, you can eat this cream and place this on other desserts, or just reduce the amount by a little bit. But then just stack up your hearts, add lots and lots of cream in between. You'd really want the cake to soak through in a few hours. And obviously it's best if you leave it overnight, but even after 3 to 4 hours, the cake will be super soft and the cream will soak into those honey sponges. Oh my god, so good. So keep adding your hearts, and I used obviously a heart the heart cookie shape that I cut out from a cardboard. If you have an actual mold, this probably makes it even easier. And I'm building it straight away on my decorative plate. You can also do this on a board and then transfer it onto a decorative plate. It's completely up to you. So once you've put your final layer, cover it with cream all around. around the sides, and then you might want to take your spatula and just go around the edges. Make sure they have enough cream everywhere. Trust me, there can never be too much cream in a honey cake. I'm one of these people that never has enough cream when I buy, if I ever buy the honey cakes in superstores. Now, of course, we're going to take our leftover bits from the honey cake and place them in a blender. You can also do this with a rolling pin in a bag if you don't have a food processor, and just crush the biscuits into fine crumbs. And the color of them is so beautiful, absolutely golden. Once your biscuits are crushed, you want to then take them and sprinkle them all over the heart, starting with the top. Make sure you're happy with how the top looks, as it's the front part. And then you want to take your hand and gently press around the edges until you finish your cake. And there it is, guys, beautiful heart-shaped honey cake, which can be done in 30 minutes or so. Really easy, no fuss, no rolling out the dough. And I know it doesn't have 10 layers or so, but it has 4, and it still is going to be just as good. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. I can't wait to see. In a food processor, add flour, then add ice cold cubed butter, make sure it's cold, then add sugar and then icing sugar. Now we're going to add a pinch of salt and close the lid and blitz everything together until you get nice crumbly texture. Don't overmix as well. The mixture should look like sand. Then we're going to add egg, vanilla extract, and mix again until your dough starts to come together. This shouldn't take very long, just a few minutes or so. Once your dough is done, it should look like this. And we're going to take it out, and you can knead it for just a little bit, not too much, as it's going to get warm from your hands. And you want to place it into a plastic bag, or you can also wrap this in a cling film and place it into the fridge for about 1 hour. Add flour onto your parchment paper and take your dough out. I've cut it in half, and we're first going to do the first half, so just add second parchment paper and using your rolling pin just soften the dough. Because it's cold, it's going to be quite tough and hard to roll it out, so just be patient and keep going around up and down, making sure that it's quite even on all the sides. Depending what shape you're going to make, we're going to make the heart today. You don't need to roll out too much. So just put your template around your cookie dough and then cut it out using a knife and make sure it's nice and even. Because you're going to do 2 of these, you need to use the same template. Then cut the mini heart inside using the cookie cutter. And then take off the excess cookie dough. You can reuse that for the next one, or you can just make extra mini cookies with extra dough. And then you want to take also the little heart, use a knife to help you out to get the inside bit out. You want to bake this for about 20 minutes at 180 degrees Celsius or 350 Fahrenheit. But always check and make sure when your cookie starts to get nice and golden, you want to take it out. Leave it to cool down. And then repeat the process with the second dough. Take a deep bowl and add your double cream. Then add mascarpone cheese. You want to add icing sugar and then mix everything together until the mixture becomes nice and smooth and comes together into sort of a thick cream. You don't want to over whisk as well. And then you want to add vanilla extract and mix again. Feel free to add anything else that you want, lemon, coffee, strawberry, whatever cream you prefer. Start piping your cream from the middle, little blobs, just push down and then pull, and then go around the entire cookie. This part doesn't have to be too pretty because you're gonna cover it with second half, but if you wanted to make it look nice, then you can, of course. Then I'm using raspberry puree, which I'm putting right in between each cookie, and this will give it so much flavor and texture. You can use any other puree that you like. So just go around and fill the gaps. Then place your second cookie on top. Make sure it's nice and even and then press gently on the top. And then just repeat with the second layer. Go around with your cream, making sure it's nice and covered around the whole cookie. It's looking so beautiful already. Almost don't want to eat it anymore. Then I'm using loads of other additives like macarons, meringues, strawberries, blueberries. You can use any decorations that you have in your kitchen. I love adding fresh fruit and flowers and macarons and meringues. It's all just making me so hungry right now, and it's looking fantastic. So yeah guys, this cake is pretty cool. It's very, very soft. You should leave it for a few hours to soak through, and the cookie actually becomes really nice and soft but still crunchy with a creamy texture, and you can taste the raspberry